I just wanted to start this off by saying, Susan Lacy, you have just done so many remarkable things in your life. You are a visionary. You are. You are a master storyteller. You have given people so much passion in the films that you've made and so much beauty. And I was just wondering, you were at American Masters for 35 years, and to just talk about how you did that. I mean, I know that you really had to struggle to make it happen, but you had a vision, and you completed that vision. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about who you filmed, where you got your drive from.
You know, I had a lot of schooling, and I studied American Studies forever, and degree after degree after degree, and I found myself unexpectedly in public television. I thought I was going to be a journalist or a scholar. And I was working with a man named Jack Venza, and we were doing gay performances, full-scale ballets and dramas and all these things. And I thought, you know, the stories that are really interesting are about the people who created these things. I want to do that. I want to do a series called American Masters. And I got nothing but laughter. Who cares? Who cares about artists? Nobody's going to watch. I said, I want to make films about people who've affected our culture, changed our culture, changed the way we think about ourselves, how we reflect on ourselves, who we are. And they said, well, it sounds like golf series. And I truly had people say, if this was such a good idea, somebody else would have already done it. And like Ralph, I didn't listen to the naysayers. I knew it was a good idea, and I basically willed the series into being. I'm not kidding you. I just wouldn't take no for an answer. I started doing interviews with people when I had $10, and then finally the NEA gave me a little money, and I basically gave the first season to PBS for nothing. And it took a long time for them to begin to support it. And they finally did, not the way they should have, because my dreams were much bigger than the budgets that PBS gave me. So I spent many, many years raising money to make the kind of films I wanted to make. I wanted the films to be as spectacular and as timeless and as excellent as the people we were making films about. They deserved that. They didn't deserve I won't say what the competition was, but they didn't deserve something made in 6 weeks for $150,000. So I did it. And if you would have told me that that series would still be alive 35 years later, I would have told you were nuts, because every single year I had to do it all over again. But I am proud of it. After 30 years, I was a little tired of raising money, and I got a wonderful offer from HBO. And along the way, I became a director. I started directing films. And it took me a long time. I had waited for 10 years to give myself a job. And when I did, I thought, oh boy, this is really so much fun. And I loved being in the edit room. I loved telling stories. I loved working with other filmmakers to help them achieve the visions that they wanted to achieve. And it was very, very fulfilling. But I got an offer I couldn't refuse, and I was at an age where I thought, maybe nobody's ever going to offer this to you again. So maybe it's time just to be a filmmaker. And my first 3 films at HBO were Steven Spielberg, Jane Fonda, and Ralph Lauren. And I had always actually wanted to make a film about Ralph Lauren and American Masters, because we had never done a fashion person. In fact, I don't think American Masters has yet done a fashion person, and I'm sure they're really jealous. I got to you first. Anyway, so I've made many films, mostly about musicians. I come from a musical family, and that was a really big part of my background, and I understood it, and I care about music. But I've made a lot of other films too. So I hope that answers the question. You know what? The reason that
it begins to.
Yeah, the reason I related so much to Ralph's story is because I'm not Ralph Lauren, but I also did achieve something that nobody thought was possible, because I didn't take no for an answer. And sometimes you just got to take no for. You just got to say, I'm not listening. I'm going to do it.
So how did this wonderful relationship start with Ralph? And also, do you remember the first time that you met him? Do you remember what you were wearing?
Oh, God.
Do you remember what
You know.
he was wearing? What did you talk about?
Well, you know, when Richard Plepler asked me to do this, he said, would you like to make a film about Ralph Lauren? I was like, yeah. I said, but I have to meet him first, and he has to meet me. Because these kinds of films are all about a relationship that gets built over, and trust over time that you build with each other. And I didn't know if he was going to like me. And, you know, I said, we have to meet each other first. And so I think our first meeting, Richard was there. And then that was sort of more of an introduction. And then I said, well, I want to have some time with Ralph alone. So we met in his office, and you would have thought we were best friends from, you know, practically from the first minute we were sharing with each other.
What did you talk about?
Oh, we talked about American Masters. We talked about, you know, some private things that we shared with each other. And but we felt comfortable. And I knew that this wasn't going to be the easiest thing in the world for Ralph to do. He wasn't sure he wanted to do it. He knew it was the right time, because 50 years is the right time maybe to do this. But Ralph is, as one can see from this film, he is very hands-on. And I don't think there's ever been a photograph or an ad or a blouse that's, you know, not had Ralph's okay and touch on. So the first thing we talked about was, you can't control this film. And
how did he feel about that?
Gulp. He gulped, and he said, really? I said, no, really. And I explained that that's how we work, and that's how every other film has worked. And he said, okay. And I'm really, really very proud to say that Ralph made no effort whatsoever. I mean, always surprises me, but that he didn't say, every time I'd see him, he'd say, I'm so nervous. But he didn't say, I need to see something. And he trusted it. And we saw the film, and it was finished. So, good for you, Ralph.
So, Ralph, how did you feel when you met Susan?
I didn't like her at all.
Why
You know,
not?
Because someone's handing me this mic right now, and it's just, Susan, you know, there's a time when you do things, and Susan was there, and I felt that she had a lot of integrity and a quality woman on many levels. Not because she was talking to me, but she really has integrity. And I'm very glad I did it. And I've had nothing but amazing comments from everyone around the world that I've met. I just took a trip through Europe, and the comments from lots of young people and all the people that really, you know, didn't know the story, I think they walked out with tears in their eyes. I mean, I've heard that from her. And I must say that I'm watching this film. I've seen it about 10 times. And I'm tearing. I'm choking while I'm watching this. And I'm saying, you're not supposed to be doing that. But I'm very happy about that, and I think Susan is you can all know who she is. She's a neighbor of the whole world here, and tries hard to really do all the right things, and I'm very proud of her, and I really think she's wonderful.
Thank you, Ralph.
Oh, it's nice.
I don't want to forget something.
Okay.
There are a couple of people here who worked on this film, and without whom it would not look or be the film it is. And one is Don Lenzer, who's right over here, who
Don,
shot
stand
that
up.
beautiful footage that you see. Thank you so much, Don. And my editor, Chris Liam, is right over here, and she's amazing. We had so much footage, and you know, to bring it down to you know, not quite 2 hours was really a feat. We were in the edit room for a long, long time, finding the right structure for the film. And you know, I go ahead.
No,
That's a good-
you
I was
keep-
going to say, when I first started this, actually, I don't know if people know that Richard Plepler was at that time the head of HBO. I didn't say who that was, but when he asked me to do it, I always knew that Ralph was the the designer to do, because he's so American, and I had a series called American Masters. But I didn't know really that much about him. I kind of knew what everybody sort of knows, which is not very much, unless you're in the fashion world, and maybe you know a whole lot more than I did. So it was a real discovery for me. I mean, I spent a lot of time preparing for the interviews and films. I know what I'm talking about when I go in to start the interviews, and I know what I am looking for. But I was genuinely bowled over by how pioneering Ralph is, and how many things he did before anybody else did them. I love when Margaret Russell says he did a lot of things before they were things. It's one of my favorite lines in the movie, because I kind of felt that way as I was going, oh my God, he did that too? You know, he started that? I really didn't know that, and it was a wonderful sort of organizing principle for the film, to kind of reveal how you did that, and how you grew, and how your vision grew, to keep doing these pioneering things. Anyway, it was, and then I read Richard Cohen's article. And Richard Cohen happens to be a friend of mine. He's the funny one in the film. And and he called me up one day and he said, "Did you ever read this?" I said, "Yes, I've just read it. It's a wonderful," and it really was so instrumental in helping with the vision and the visuals of the film, to be able to use the movies as a way to help understand where Ralph's vision of America came from, and the fact that it also came from immigrants. I thought was very special. So I enjoyed that. Chris and I enjoyed picking those clips.
Did Ralph change you at all during the course of the film? Did you change by his spirit, his love of family, his sense of fashion, his sense of nobody could stop him? Did that
I wish I
impact
had
on
more of
you?
a sense of fashion. I wish that had, and when one of these days I just might. I did always worry about what to wear when I was going to interview Ralph, and I don't have that many Ralph Lauren clothes because I'm not thin enough for them. But the first time we shot in Montauk, this amazed me. I have a bunch of denim shirts, and I wasn't even thinking. I just picked out the first one that was there. And I get to his house, and we're sitting there. He said, "Is that one of my shirts?" And I thought, "How did you know that?" Because it didn't look that much different to me, but you could tell by the buttonhole that it was one of his shirts. And I was so, thank God, Susan, you wore that one. And you didn't pick that other one next to it, which wasn't a Ralph Lauren denim shirt. But, you know, I wouldn't say. I mean, I think I share. I mean, you share a spirit of making something happen. We share a love of family. And I really related to that, very much so. But that doesn't change me. I think it reinforced things for me.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
So what about you, Ralph? Did Susan change you at all?
Yeah, I wear black every day.
Very good.
I just want to say, I have these two ladies on either side here. Come on up. Get up. Get up. Both of you.
Jane.
Yes.
They have been my models for about 20 years. And
50.
There's a lot of Jane in
50?
this film. You beat me to it, Ralph. I was about to do that. But you're both beautiful in this film. And thank you for being here today.
I see a sign that says 2 minutes, and I feel like we haven't even started. But I think maybe we should ask if there are any questions from the audience.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, great job, Susan. I have a question. For Ralph. Katharine Hepburn had a list of things she always packed, like her 5 or 6 essential things. Are there 5 or 6 things you always reach for when you're packing your suitcase?
no, I don't know. My wife tells me what to wear.
Hi.
Fantastic film. I also am afraid to have a question for Ralph. I'm just curious, I'm sure you have some regrets or things that you might have done differently. And I wondered what those might be. And what's next? We're waiting.
Are you asking for regrets in my life or regrets on the
in
show?
life no, not in the show. I think you probably look like you had a great run with it.
Well, if I cry, then you know I'm not yelling, I'm crying. It's emotional. Do I have regrets?
Yeah, in the business and life. What might you have done
That I wasn't Frank Sinatra. I missed that.
Or perhaps a movie director.
You know, I always wanted to be special, like all of us do. We're not different. I think I've always loved what I do. And I must say that I'm very lucky because I stuck to my guns. And Susan said it all. I have no regrets. I've had a very wonderful life. I have 3 great children, a beautiful wife. It's my 52nd anniversary on the 20th. There's no regrets about that. And working hard and loving what I was doing. I didn't really go to fashion school. I could have been anything. I just was lucky. But I thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. They're trying to
said
tell
stop.
us to stop.
Stop. We'll
But
stop.
I just want to say that this film is beautiful, and having the two of you here has just made this evening
I gotta
fantastic.
say one more thing. I've got to say this. This is co-sponsored by the Sag Harbor Cinema, and Gillian Gordon is here, and Julia, our artistic director. I think they're both here. Julia, okay. So I would just want to give it a shout out. I think you all know how we all feel about the Sag Harbor Cinema, but keep supporting it because it's really important.